mid-fade, and then I want scissors on the top.
Okay.
And I brush my hair up in that direction.
Okay, so you want to bring this up and then probably to about right there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, and it'll just lay right here?
Yeah.
So, all right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to wet the hair, right? So the reason why we're going to wet the hair, right, because you see when we first had the consultation, his hair was kind of all over the place, right? What happens when we wet the hair is we're going to break the physical bonds in the hair, right? So when we wet it, now it's all kind of laying. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some sectioning to create the space for sectioning off the top so I can separate the top from the side. So what we normally call that is a horseshoe section. The horseshoe section's purpose is to separate the top from the side. He wants it faded on the side. He wants it combed from the right side over to the left with a little part, and then he wants the front flipped back a little bit. That way it's not all on his forehead. That's just how he styles his hair, but it's ultimately going to be a comb over. So now we're going to section that off. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to start back here at the whorl, right? And I'm going to take this inside and I'm going to push it to the front, locking that hair and separating with the comb and the thumb, right? Because I have my finger locked here, now I can go right here and separate that. Now I'm a lefty, this is with my off hand, but if you do it right, that's how it can look, right? You start to separate it. Once we do that, then I'm gonna come back in here and just clean it up a little bit. Right? I probably need to wet it a little bit more. Wasn't wet enough. That's why it was difficult. Okay? Then on the other side, I'm going to go my strong side. Straight back from the whorl, right? Around here to this ear, separate, right? Once we do that, then we're going to go, because we're basically at the ear, right? Then we're going to go from the ear forward to the recession point. Locking it with the thumb, pulling it apart with the comb, right? Then I go in here and then create my separation. All right? See how we got that? So now I just separated the top. That's all I did. Now, what I'm going to do now is if I go back here, because he's got a little funky piece back here, I'm going to take a little bit more of this hair. Now, I want you to check this, right? So come here, come here. In the back here, this hair right here, you see how that is like that? This hair, I had it right here. And you see how it's lifting? That means that hair doesn't go there, right? So it needs to go part of this front. So instead of me starting up higher, I should have started in the back. So now I'm going to catch that, right? And separate this. And now I got more of that natural triangle in the back, right? You see how I still got it separated, right? So you see all that, it's separated. But I got that where it needs to be now, because that's where it grows. If you get closer to the follower, you can see this hair, it comes straight out from there. Okay? So now the rest of this is laying down. That's key, because if I force hair in a way that it doesn't want to grow naturally, it's going to stick up and cause me problems. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start back here. Even though he's going to comb this over, right? I'm going to set a foundation all the way around that we can connect this comb over to. Now, if you look on this side, he's going to get a natural part here. Don't you get a natural part here, Noah? Mm-hmm. He's going to get a natural part here. So then what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to create this. If you come around, all right, you can stay in the back, right, so you can get that, right? I'm going to make this square here. How am I going to do that? I'm going to place this comb on the side of the head, and I'm going to follow this straight up. And then when you look this way, it's going to look square shapey. So he'll have his square shape here. He'll have his natural part, and everything else will comb over and connect to this side. That is our goal. I'm going to show you how we go about doing that. Now, so we're in the back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out, and I say, all right, where do I want this to sit? Right now, it just looks like I'm eyeing it up. But watch again. The comb. We're going to sit it here, right? I'm going to push it on the occipital. Get to the side so you can see that. Where's that coming off at? About right there, right? How much hair is coming off? About that much. Now watch this. I'm going to take my fingers right to that spot. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut this here. There. We got it. Now the goal is to come around and stay with your work in front of you. Here's the key here. This is key. Please pay attention. Stop all distractions. Pay attention to this. Here's my guide. But if I don't follow my posture, step back a little bit, cameraman, so you can get the posture. If I'm not directly in front of my work, all your areas should be in your T-Rex area. This is your T-Rex. Imagine if I was a dinosaur and I just went like this. T-Rex area. So I'm right here in front of my work though, right? So if I'm here, come back to me now. If I slide out here, I'm going to change it. This is going to be longer. I need to follow the contour shape of the head, which is round. Feel me? Now I go here again. I'm around some more. And I follow myself like that all the way around. See the guide there? Do it again. See me? I'm going to do this side, I'm going to do that side the same exact way. And then we'll get to the next step. We got this top here. So what I'm going to do now is come straight down the middle to create us a profile section. Now, you're probably like, Stan, well, what is a profile section? A profile section is going to just give us our shape, right? It's our profile. It's what we're trying to do as far as in regards to the top, right? So I'm going to come down here, cut this up a little bit, right? Section it. Then I'm going to start here at the apex. Now, you're probably going to ask me like, all right, well, apex is the top of the head, but how do we know that? Because it's right over top of the ear. So if I went over top of the ear, I'm right on top of the head, right? Now, I want to break this down for you. You have a part here, right? That's your frontal, it's your forehead, your fringe. On top, you have an apex. Back here, you have a crown, right? That's a crown area. So you got frontal, flat, top, curve, crown. Then you got flat again, which is occipital, right? And then you got curve down on the neck. Okay, so you got nape, occipital, which is curve, flat, curve for crown, flat for apex, curve for frontal. Those are the main areas when you're building in your profile section. All right, so I'm going to go back to this apex, and I'm going to have Noah look off the mirror. About how much off, Noah? How much you want off?
Good.
About that much?
I think so.
That's about a, what, knuckle length? Inch maybe?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So now we're going to take that. We're going to come straight up here, and we're going to cut that. Right? Then we're going to come, as I'm holding his head up, take a little piece, right? Drop that off. Take a little piece, move forward, right? This is what's going to be called our traveling guide now. We set our guide. Now we're going to travel with it. Okay? Now, what would happen if it was a stationary guide? We would have stayed right here, and we would have brought this hair to it. This would have been a stationary guide. We'd have brought all the other hair to it and then cut it. All right? So since we're traveling with it, we're taking a piece, and we're going up, right? Now, I want to make sure I don't pull too much hair into it, right? Because I don't want nothing over-directing. If stuff starts over-directing, what happens is the length starts changing, okay? Sure we got that tension good. You see the guide. Cut. Come up here. Now, he wants this fringe area. Remember, he said he wants this longer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull this hair back a little bit, right? Just a little bit. And cut some. Eventually, when we cross-check, we'll get it to right where we need it to be. Now, I'm going to come back here, right? Because remember, we did the apex. So I'm going to come around this crown. I want to be careful here, though, because sometimes if you cut the crown too short, it'll stick up. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of look where we are, see a little bit. That's cool, right? I can cut that. We're going to work our way towards the back, and it's pretty much all there, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to this top part. Because remember, we cut this part in our foundation when we brought it back, when I went all the way around. So now what I'm going to do is create a little section across here. I'm going to bring this up. You see my middle is my guide here. I'm going to trim that off, and I'm going to snip that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this side here. I'm going to bring this straight up. Now, I'm not going to go over here and cut it on the curve like this. That's going to change it. If he wants that square shape, I need to bring it up square. Now, here's the identifier. Pal, I want you to get right here so you can look at this. Right there, right in front of it, right? I'm going to start over. So now when I pull this up, I want to get this piece, right? Because here's what I want you to notice. As I come up and straighten up my angle to get square, you see the hair falling out. Right? This hair right here. If I do it again, right? You'll see it. See this here? As I pull up, that hair starts falling out and laying where it needs to lay, doesn't it? You see that? That tells me I'm square. And then I cut off this. If I would have brought this out here round, I would have cut all that. That would have been an error. Okay? So now I'm going to do another section, and I'm going to do the same exact thing. Right? I'm going to pull this up here, pull it up square, right? Cut that. I can come over here a little bit, because guess what? If I'm pulling it up square, what's going to fall out is going to fall out, but you see I still got some hair there. All right? And I'm going to do this all the way forward. Same thing. Come from the middle, cut it, come over here, but pull up square to keep my square shape. Cut it. Okay? So that hair needs to fall out. All right? So now I'm going to go and do that same thing all the way forward. And then when I get right to where my frontal is, remember when I showed you apex, frontal, crown? Once I get past the apex and I start moving in the frontal zone, that's where I'm going to start from the front. And I'm going to bring it back to the apex, and then I'm going to cut it square. So then when he flips this up, it lands right where it needs to land. That's what the over-directing purpose of the frontal area is for, or the fringe area, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so I'm going to come a little bit more. I'm going to pull straight up. I'm going to cut that. Now, you see I ain't cutting this because that's part of the other side, which we'll get to in a second. I'm going to bring this up. See it? Right? Starts falling out. Then I cut it. A little bit more. See that? Just to make sure I'm getting my stuff right. All right, good. All right. Now, he wants his natural part, right, on this side. So what we need to do is, that parting, we need to put that in there now. All right? So I'm going to take my liners. That's about where you get your part, about right there. So here's the key when you're putting in a part, right? I'm going to show you an old school trick to getting a part. Take your shears first, right? So you take your shears, and I want you to go straight through like this and create your part first with your shears. See how much more defined that looks? See that? Go right in here and just take your shears. All right? Now, after you do that, you know what's so crazy? It was one of the first things I learned in barber school. Mr. Woods, old dude, he's like 80 years old. He knew I was nervous as hell. So guess what he did? He said, hey, man, do it like this first. Now I got more of a little piece here. So now I come in here and I create me a little part. You don't want it to be crazy big. You want it to be just enough so he can identify it and know where to start his comb over from his cut. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to pull up this side because now I know where this side ends. So now I can pull all this up from my middle, and I'm not cutting this. If I were to pull this up here, right? Let's just say I started in the apex area, right? And I pulled this up, right? And I know I needed to cut it square, right? See me cutting it square. If I would have pulled this hair into this and cut it, that would have been a problem, wouldn't it? Because then this wouldn't have laid right. Mm-hmm. So it's a reason why I separated it like that. So now I'm just going to pull this up. You see my guide from the middle? That's the original profile section that we cut, right? Pull up another section. All right? Come forward. See it? Pull it forward again. My section's right here. Right? Guess what? As I pull this up here, it's square as I go over, right? So all a square means is this and this. That's a square. If I took 2 combs and I put this here and I laid one across the top, I got a square shape. That's all we're trying to do. Now we have this area here, right? He wants this pulled back, but he kind of wants it to sit, right, about this far back. So now I'm pulling that, but you see that guide in there. Once you get close, you see that guide in there? You see that? If you see that? I pulled this hair back to it and then up to right there. Back to it and then up. Back to it and then up. Where does he want it to sit? Right there. So now, whatever he wants to do, he can flip it to right here, and it's good. If he says, you know what, well, I want a little bit more than that, a little shorter than that, we can go in there, cut that. Just pull it straight to it, and then come up. But one thing you're noticing as I'm doing this, what's happening? You're coming straight up in this square, right? So now it's all set. So wherever I pull it up at, he's good, right? Everything's cut, right? So we're back in here. We got that part, so this is easy to find again, right? Because we got that part in there. How many of you have done something before, right, and you couldn't figure out where the part actually was, right? So now as we comb this over here, he can flip this back. And what did he say to me in the beginning? I want to be able to get that little curl out of there, right? If he just rocked it like that, he's in there, right? Now, what we're going to do now, because we have that, now we're going to do our fade. And I'm going to fade into it. So whenever you're doing straight hair, you're going to do the top first, right? Now, before I even get into the fade, I want you to watch this now, right? Because what we're going to do is I'm going to come in here. And remember I talked about that square shape, right? You see that square up here, right? But then you see this. Obviously, this is going to be cut with the clippers. But you see the shape, though. If I go like this, what happens? See that? Nah. That is what you want. So I'm going to come here, right? And we want that square shape. Remember that square shape we put in with that foundation? It's right there. This will be cut off with clippers, right? But I'm just cutting it with shears just to show you the technique. Come around some more. See where we cut it with the foundation, right? It's in there. Right? If we went around, foundation is in there again in that middle, right? And you'll be like, well, Stan, why is this top sticking out? Because this, if we took it down to where it was, it would go away too. Okay? So now you're in here. See that? There it is. Now all of this seamlessly transitions right in. I might have missed a little bit of this, right? And look, see, when you cut right, you can find where the area is. Right there. Bam. Done. Now I'm going to fade him all the way around. He's done. I got to do this side over here, though. Right? Do this side. But guess what we're doing? We're doing square shape, right? Same vibe. That's going to be cut with the clippers. Right? So if I come here, straight out, foundation's right there. Right? Another section. Straight out. Right? Not grabbing too much hair. Straight out. How you might want to get it back there. Straight out. You see that? straight out. See it? Straight out. Straight out. I'm just showing you how we keep it vertical so we keep it square. Pull it out to the same exact spot every time. Boom. Right? Now, we're going to take a 4 guard on the clippers here. We're going to take a 4. Now, with this 4, you can come up on this hair, right, all the way into where you set that foundation at, and you're going to come straight off. And it's going to give you a very seamless transition. Okay? Now, how do I know, Will? How do I know where to come off at? If I put that comb right there, and I took that clipper, where am I coming off? The teeth are following the comb. Straight up. If you follow the contour shape of the head, you're going to cause yourself problems. Okay? That's how that works. Okay? See how that's transitioning into that? With a 4. Right? Go slow if you have to. Watch the hair come through the teeth. Watch it. See that? Seamless transition, right? Seamless. Right? If you look at that and you look at that, you can tell the difference, can you not? I think so. Right? Seamless transition. Okay? Seamless transition. Seamless transition. All right. Alrighty. Now, that's a 4, right? A 4 is how you start to connect the sides to the top. Right? We're going to do this all the way around. But that's how you transition it from shears on top to a 4. You don't need anything higher than that because it's almost always in some sort of capacity going to come back to this unless you're doing longer hairstyles. And then after that, it's pretty much just fading from a 4 down. And I have tons of videos that kind of show you how to fade. We already transitioned from a 4 to the side, right? But I haven't done anything else. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put his ball line in right where he said he wants a mid-fade, right? So a mid-fade happens at the point. High is above the point, low is below the point. Very simple concept. Now, I never recommend putting your lines in like this. They're just harder to get out, man. I know it looks good. People on YouTube doing it and all that. That stuff is for content, bro. That's not a good way to do it, right? Can some barbers more experienced do it? Yes, they can. But should you as a beginner? Absolutely not. Put this next level in with this all the way open. The reason why is because this is making it easy to get the bottom line out. Now, I also am going to stretch this a little bit. Normally I'll tell you a knuckle length, but I'm going to go a little bit more than that, right? Just for this video purpose. If you stretch your bottom line, like this line right here, if you stretch this and make it a little bit more wider gap of space, your last line is easier to get out. So that's major gain for a beginner. We got our first lines in, right? Now we're going to go with the 3, which is right up underneath the 4. We'll ride off of the contour shape of the head. The only time I believe you should open and close the lever is when you're blending. Right now, I'm reducing bulk right now from this top area. Now, this is a 2 guard. I'm going to open this 2 all the way up. And I'm going to go right into this. Riding up to that parietal ridge and off. Blending into my foundation. Just like I did with the 4 and the 3. And then once I go all the way around, I'm going to come back halfway. Then I'm going to close it all the way, do the same thing. I'm just doing this side. I'm going quick, but if I go slow, this is what I'm doing. Riding straight up like I showed you with that comb. Right? Now I'm going to go down to this next guard, the 1.5. Right? Same vibe. Close it all the way. Because them levels and guards are so close to each other, you can go in the same area. As long as you don't stay too long, right? Some people be wanting to, you know, go over the same spot over and over again until it just magically disappears. Now after the 1.5, 1. All right, so now what I'm doing, the next phase, I'm using just my corners, left corner to the left, right corner to the right. You see me do it a bunch of times. Now I'm closing it all the way. And all I'm doing is smearing this bottom line in. That's why I told you to stretch that fade like that. Right? Because then all I got to do is smear it. You ain't even got to be good if you stretch it. Is you just take this and you just use the corner. Right? And what you see there, you see a fade, bro. And I come back, close, and just go in and just, you know, touch up. But if you looked at that side, right, you look at this side with the light,